fresh black wheels. Oh, it's gonna look so dang good with this black paint job. Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? EXO coming at you here, feeling great and doing something a little bit different for today's YouTube video. This is a first for even me, and I've been so excited throughout this whole process. So I wanted to bring you guys along through the ride of picking, choosing, and upgrading all new wheels, tires, rotors, and pads for the big behemoth build. Going through the whole process of picking and choosing has been, holy crap, pretty difficult, because the way the world is working right now with back orders, it seems like it's really hard to get anything. But we finally got all the things laid out in a nice old smorgy for an installation from start to finish. So let's go ahead and get the get this party started with some of the brief little bit of requirements that I have for my wheels, because I guarantee some people are gonna be wondering why I'm not getting big old jumbo mumbo. I'm actually going pretty conservative. So I'll probably surprise a lot of people that my requirements for my wheels are to stay 17s. They're stock 17s, but I want aluminum. So we're gonna keep the same size, but upgrade to aluminum. That's the first requirement for my new wheels. The second requirement is that it's lighter. I actually wanna reduce my weight going from steel to aluminum. So that's one of my biggest requirements right there. And I would prefer to have a slightly wider wheel so I can have wider tires as well. So 1 inch wider maximum. I don't want to push it too much more than 8.5, because then we're going to be getting pretty heavy. This vehicle itself is kind of finicky because of the sliding door. You can't have your wheels and tires come out too far because it will hit. So I'm pretty limited to a positive offset of 15 or greater. We should be in good shape with a 5-inch back spacing. And then the last requirement for my new wheels is that they at least be rated for 1.6 ton, 3,200 pounds each. Now, as far as my tire requirements, this is where I could get a little bit more leeway, because I can have a heavier combo. If my wheels are lighter, I can get heavier tires. Car audio shows and a lot of bass shows tend to be on wet grass, sometimes gravel or loose ground. So I don't want to get stuck at an event like that. So an all-terrain tire with a moderate tread pattern, ideally more forward facing, is exactly what I'm looking for. We're not going to sacrifice any load range, so we're sticking with a same or higher rated load range. Also, I don't want my new tires to lose any sidewall. If it has this much sidewall in the beginning, I want it to have that much or more in the end. It adds a little bit to the suspension system. It's actually a part of the suspension system, how much your rubber compresses on the sidewall. But the part I would like to make it wider, larger, is the width. I want to have wider tires. When you're in the back of this thing looking on, it looks kind of silly with those narrow little tires. So I want a minimum of 1 inch wider tires, as well as an aggressive sidewall look. Maybe some nice ridges or grooves along the border, just to give it that show quality. Then, like I said before, a tire that won't make the whole combo heavier. But all that really depends on what wheel we end up choosing. So let's go ahead and show you my top 3 so far. Now, I will say, when I first started looking at all these wheels, chrome was at the top of my list. Something about that look just always seems blinged out and upgraded, so it's no wonder why the Extreme NX2s were right there. They're chrome, they're beautiful, all the specs match up, except for a little less wide than I'd like at 17x8. But the only thing is, I couldn't find these suckers anywhere. Not only this website, eBay, Amazon, every marketplace. I exhausted every single avenue I could find. So I had to chalk it up to a loss, but it's no wonder why these were jumping out at me when I first started looking. So after realizing a lot of those chrome choices were gonna be on back order for months, I started to switch my possible preference into black, and these next ones really jumped out at me with the Vision Raptor in matte black. Again, all the specs matching up perfectly, except for one thing in my mind's eye. Can you see it jumping out? It's just the fact that the rim itself doesn't have any accents on it. There's no silver accents, it's just completely black. And every time I've seen that on another vehicle driving down the road, especially at highway speeds, it almost looks like they're on a donut. If it has that accent beads both on the lugs and on the rim, I really feel that it helps make the wheel pop. So I had to put that one in my restraint on the back burner for a possible backup choice, but I really thought I could find something better out there, which I ended up doing, but not before seeing this on the same website. Call me corny, but the second I saw these suckers, I fell in love. The Ultra Maverick in black diamond, cut lip and spoke accents. A long name there, but look at it. I love the way how it has the silver and black in a combination, just to kind of break it up a little bit, especially with those center lug nuts being silver. That's exactly what I really wanted to go for. Everything else was looking good until I saw closer into the specs, and then I had to put these off to the side as well because they're only rated for 3,000 pounds. I would like to have a little bit more of a rating than that, just on the back of my mind to feel safe. So, you know, even though they look so dang cool, I had to say no to these, but I ended up finding something right after these that worked out perfectly. Take a look at these fine fellas, the Method 315s in matte black with simulated bead lock. Of course, it's not a real bead lock, but with all those nuts and bolts going around the sides, it looks really real. I love the accent it gives with the two-tone effect against the black. That's exactly what I want. And look at this, we get that extra ½ inch up to a 8.5 inch rim, so we won't have even less bulge coming out with our rubber. 3640 rated, highest I've seen so far in a 17, and this is looking perfect. 25 millimeters of positive offset. That way we won't have our freaking wheels and tires sticking out into the yellow line. This looks like a perfect combination. Only a 15 millimeter difference between the stock and the aftermarket offsets. The sliding door is gonna give us no problems. There's gonna be no rubbing. We should have about 2 millimeters of additional inner clearance and about 28 millimeters of push out. So overall, about 2 inches of stance gained on both sides. You know, when you're looking down the road, it'll be about 2 inches wider. Now, luckily, finding tires was a heck of a lot easier, and I had quite a bit of fun just messing around with this tire size calculator, finding the exact size that I wanted to gain the extra width without sacrificing any sidewall, and I settled on a few sizes larger from a 245/75/17 to a 285/70/17. So we gained about an inch taller of a profile to make the diameter 32.7 inches, and we gained even more in width from 9.6 inches to 11.2 inches. So it will look really nice from behind. It won't have that narrow look anymore. The sidewall also increased from 7.2 to 7.9, so that'll help cushion the ride a little more. I didn't want to sacrifice any of that. The speedometer will only be affected marginally. I'm not going to be going much faster than 70 miles an hour in this beast, and if I do 70 right on the needle, technically I will be at 72.7 miles an hour. But hey, I'm a 5 over kind of guy anyways, so that discrepancy is really not too much to affect transmission or anything like that as far as gearing. Since we reduced the weight of the rim now at 28 pounds, we can afford a 51-pound tire. But this right here, Toyo Open Country AT3, beautiful tread pattern, and I love the sidewall, but it's 56 pounds. It would actually be increasing my weight quite a bit. And I've had a lot of people say, man, it doesn't matter how heavy or how big your tires are. I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I believe that it puts more unnecessary strain on the drivetrain, especially if you kind of think of it like an RC car. If you put huge tires on an RC car, what happens? Your differentials and your motor both have a hard time. In fact, you may even overheat your motor or your electrics just because it has a hard time trying to crank over that larger circumference. It's almost like increasing your gearing. So we should be in good shape. So I had to say no to the Open Country All-Terrain 3s. But I am glad to say it took no time at all to find these next suckers, the Bridgestone Dueler AT Revo 3s. I ended up being heck yeah gung-ho on these suckers just because of the combination of low weight and the tread pattern is kind of a forward facing, almost like it's the best of both worlds with highway and going to some car shows that may be on some slick grass. At least for me, I'm kind of like an 80-20 kind of guy. I'll be on the highway near 80% of the time, if not more. So this worked out great at 51 pounds, bringing our weight from start to finish dead even. Stock weight, same as our aftermarket weight. So I believe that will help in, the department of wear and tear. I just like to do everything I can to try to cover my bases, and that's one of them. So there we go. I hope you guys like the little combination here that we're about to install, but let's quit blabbing and get to working out in the garage and get these suckers slapped on with all the other upgrades. Rotors from Racebestos upgraded, and then the pads from Akabono, as well as some G2 painted calipers to really make them pop. Let's go get busy, guys. Thanks for watching. I will say, even the stock tires are pretty big. And a lot of this right here looks a lot worse than it really is because I use that copper anti-seize. So if I show you right here, it's actually kind of red already, so it blends in with a little bit of that surface rust, but the majority of it is actually the goop left behind for anti-seize so the wheel doesn't get stuck to the rotor. So before everything's all said and done, I am gonna clean all the other areas behind it and around because it does clean up really well. It's more or less just like dust and all that residue from driving. So I'm gonna clean everything up real nice, maybe even put a little bit of dry lubrication on it or something from WD. I've been messing around with that dry lube and it tends to have really good results in the RC world, and that's 10 times more aggressive than what I'm gonna be doing with this. So maybe a little bit of dry lube will help keep that stuff from building up over time. Remove these big boys on the calipers here, torque member bolts, I believe. Another big one here on the underside. It's funny though, they're cranked down really hard, but once you get like a quarter turn, you can pretty much do it by hand. The top one's out, it's kind of wedging it, so it'll act like a hinge now. Whoa, you guys, I've got some serious spider activity going on over here. I believe that's what this is, eggs. I believe I've got a haven of eggs. Let me show you here in a second, but I gotta get this freaking bolt out. I think I'm almost there. Here we go. This thing's actually pretty dang heavy. Whew. What an assembly this is. Wow, I got slack and I'm putting it on the ground. That's crazy. I didn't expect that. I got like 2 inches of slack and it's sitting right on the concrete. Oh yeah, that's the joys of having a new vehicle. Well, 2018, that's basically brand new to me. Look at that, no rusted hubs. Woo. See all these little sacks right where the bolts went through? I'm pretty sure that's from a spider, but don't quote me on it. And this also looks like it's rust, but it's not. It's really shiny and smooth. Like, look at that. You can tell on camera. It's wicked soft. I just wiped all the dust off, and that's what it looks like underneath. So I'm pretty sure that's its natural color, even though it looks a little rusty on film. I think that's supposed to be like that. But I will be honest, I had no idea that this vehicle was outfitted with something like this underneath. That's all news to me. So since a lot down there could use a lot of cleaning, I'm gonna take some wire brushes and some brake cleaner and just go to town and make her look all scrub-a-dub-dubulous clean. I'm at it, since I'm gonna have to prep these guys really well, I'm gonna take out the brake pads, plus I'm replacing these pads also with Akabonos, and these are probably ceramic as it is, but I hear that Akabono is like second to none. You can't really beat the name, so I'm gonna try them out in my rig. There we go, looking much better, but of course it can only last so long, so I'll add some lithium grease real quick to make it longer lasting. And check out these new rotors, super fancy, huh? I've never had anything like rippled or divoted, I should say. I don't know the technical name for it. I think it's just grooved. I'll probably get corrected in the comments, but that's fine. I'm not pretending to be a professional over here. I just know that this is definitely an upgrade, and I hear that having those lines there kind of helps get a nice clean surface as it comes across. It almost acts as like a little scraper as the pad comes across and keeps things relatively clean. Well, hopefully that'll be the case, because these things are beautiful. Look at the coating on them. Oh yeah, Raceasbestos. The reason why I got the Raceasbestos is because it's the same build house as OEM AC Delco type brands. Actually, I just remembered that these are gonna be installed while I paint them, so I took the pads out and I'm gonna put the new ones in with the fresh clips. Just gotta take out the old ones. And you know what, just to be safe, I'm gonna work backwards again, put a little bit of this on it real quick and cram them back in. And here are the new brake pads, looking nice and fresh. Akabono 1411s. These are the big boy, beefy ones. I believe they're like $100 a set, but I got them on Rock Auto for $40 cheaper than other places I saw. So it definitely pays off to search around for the best deals sometimes. There we go. Came right on. I only had to compress that piston probably 1/8 of an inch because our pads were barely worn down. But I will be honest, there's a good freaking, look how much more of a contact patch we are. I'm really happy that I made this purchase. Look at the top portion of that pad. It's completely missing. But our new Akabonos, that whole section is all ceramic, baby. So we should have some added stopping power. You can see our fresh new pads, our new clips, and that little bit of anti-seize in there just to make everything glides right across without sticking. And now it's time to protect some of these areas like our fresh pads, because they're protected. Those are painted on the outside. They're all black. They're gonna be matching the calipers. So let's mask off all the protected areas so we can spray down with some brake cleaner, because that stuff is really aggressive. We got some brake dust, a little bit of debris, so let's get this thing all prepped for paint. And here's the paint that I'm going to be using. It's from G2, and it is specifically designed to paint calipers, so it has a very high temp. It's actually epoxy based. There's an activator, so we'll have to mix up these two things right here, and then we have roughly 4 to 6 hours to work with to do all 4 calipers. Pause this real quick. This is what we are working with right now. I got both the front and the rear all prepped for paint. Now, as I was reading on the box, it says jack up all 4 wheels to do this. Now, I want to make sure that I have double protection. I don't want to have like a single jack stand on all sides. What if one fails? I need to have a fail safe. So right now, what I've done is used all my jack stands, one for primary and one for backup right there next to it. It's real close, so if this one happens to fail, this one will back up. Same thing for up here. If one happens to fail, I've got another one for backup right on the frame. So what I'm gonna do is go down to the store and pick up a couple more jack stands, because I don't have any more. And I guess if I ever want to do something like this in the future with jacking up all 4 wheels while having backups, I gotta have more jack stands. So let's head up to Harbor Freight. I just freaking choked. Let's head off to Harbor Freight and pick us up a couple more. Actually, no, I'm not gonna go to Harbor Freight. I'm gonna go to Tractor Supply. I'm gonna get another big red here. I think I like those ones a little bit better. Well, dang it, looks like my camera wasn't recording. During the painting process, I actually did a little bit of a late night kind of relaxing session by myself. Took about 4 hours, I'd say about an hour per caliper. I'd do about 30 minutes, come back 15 minutes later and do another 30-minute detail work. And here's what we're working with, guys. I mean, it's black paint, really. I mean, if you've seen something painted black, you know what's going on. But I'm pretty happy with the results. Come on, focus. What's going on here? There she is. Take a look at it. We got some reflections coming in from the open tent, but you can get the idea of it. Nice gloss finish, nice black finish. I think I'm gonna go over these tiny little rivets just to seal the deal, because those are the Akabono like plates on there. So I'm gonna make sure that we get those all covered. And there we go. We got our asbestos coated rotors all grooved out and ready for braking. Our brand new coated calipers, our fresh pads, and I am feeling real good. I even went around into the center cap and added some epoxy paint, just a little bit of extra TLC to make her pop. I also cleaned off my leaf springs so everything looks nice and fresh down there as well. The only thing that's really poking out is that drive shaft back there going into the rear diff. So I think sooner or later I'm probably gonna do something similar on that. Maybe paint that black. What do you guys think? Have you ever seen someone do that? And here's the new combo with our Method wheels and our nice Bridgestone all-terrain tires. These things are so beautiful, and it still has a relatively nice forward-facing tread pattern, so it should be pretty decent on the highway and off-road, because sometimes car shows are on, you know, grass, and I don't want to get stuck in there. There will be chrome lugs on the inside, so there'll be 2 spots where it's a nice two-tone effect with the black and the silver. So now we are ready to put the tires back on. I already have these torque member bolts tension down to 130 foot-pounds with a little bit of lock tight, so that is nice and safe. So now the moment of truth to put that new rubber on there with the fresh black wheels. Oh, it's gonna look so dang good with this black paint job. Let's set the camera up. Oh my gosh. This thing is gonna have to come up a lot. Almost there. There she goes. Alright, now, because Nissan is so threadly, the studs that go onto these hubs are so dang short, it's like they were sabotaging people who wanted aftermarket wheels. These methods are at least 1/8 of an inch or more higher of a profile on the mounting flange. So the nuts that I got from custom offsets are not gonna work. This is exactly what we need. See that little end right there? It's like 0.31 inches of an extended thread. That way we can get all 7 to 8 turns. I guess it would help if I had the center cap too, huh? It's almost like this is the first time I've ever installed a pair of aftermarket wheels. How old am I? I'm 32 years old. And this is my first set of wheels ever. Okay, I just realized something. I'm probably gonna get eaten alive for this, but I don't know what's going on. I can't put these rings on the wheel while this center cap is on. Like it takes up all the space that this inner insert does. So that's kind of a catch-22. This is one or the other, it seems like. You can't do both. So because it looks way better like this, and since most people do this anyways, going lug-centric, since they're all like an acorn tapered lug, it should center itself all by itself. So I think that's what's gonna have to happen. I can't run these center plugs, these beautiful little extra beauty pieces, and I definitely want those. There we go, that's much better. I can get like freaking 10 turns on these now. Let me count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Awesome. That's 11. Holy smokes. We got 11 turns now. We went from 4 to 11 just with that extra little bit, 0.3 inches of ET extended threads. right, there's one, everybody, all assembled. Method 315's in your face. But you know what? This little Method logo right here in the center cap, I think that would look a lot better if it was silver too. I gotta get some ideas brewing, but this plastic would probably be pretty hard to paint. Everybody just got back from driving down the road, burnishing in these new brakes, getting them all seated in, bedded in, whatever the terminology you want to say. But I gotta say, we got a nice layer of ceramic transferred over onto the rotor, and I am feeling good. The profile is exactly what I wanted. We don't have too much stick out, but it did add at least, that little bit of stance that we were talking about to make it aggressive looking. Oh, I am loving it. This thing is exactly what I was looking for. So stay on the lookout for some more drive-by shots after I get a good old car wash. Get a nice polish, do a nice drive-by with the fancy new digs. It's gonna look awesome. This, on the other hand, is not so awesome. Talk about a bug magnet. I was going like 70 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour yesterday, and we got a whole smorgy to work with. So we're gonna get her nice and clean for you guys and come back at you with a brand new fresh set of rubber and wheels. All right, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.